Hello, Mike Lucy here from 3V Business Solutions. Today, we are going to be discussing unique ways to build Facebook audiences and ads to be able to reach more potential buyers and or sellers for real estate professionals out there. So what I'm going to do here in a few seconds is I'm going to start screen sharing, and then I'm going to go through a document in which we've documented objectives and audiences. And I recommend that anyone that is considering doing their own Facebook advertising use a similar approach where before you put pen to paper, you brainstorm both the objectives and the audiences in which you'd be speaking to or in which you'd be publishing ads for. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and then we're going to hop on over to a couple screens in which I'll demonstrate and discuss more about here in a second. But here comes the screen sharing. There we go. Okay, so this screen right here, what this represents is it's a starter or primer page that we like to use as a starting point for any and all Facebook advertising. At the top of the list of to-dos for any ads is the objective. What is the objective, or what are the objectives of any given Facebook advertising campaign? Not only Facebook, but any other media source in which you'd be considering publishing an ad. What are your objectives? So in the case for today, what we're going to be doing is creating audiences for the eventual publishing of ads to those audiences of people that are currently or in the future will be potential home buyers or sellers. So with that in mind, step one is the creation of audiences. In the Facebook world, audiences are very important because what audiences allow advertisers to do and what they empower you to do, you as a real estate professional, is create categories of people and assign within those categories certain demographics or demos of people to be able to submit different types of or publish different types of ads for. So for the case of today, and try to keep this process streamlined and relevant to for a real life scenario, is I'm going to add a link to a property on Trulia I found in Farmington Hills. I'll link it in here. So the property in question, we'll go through here real quick. I found it on Trulia. It's a $234,000 house located in a unique area within Farmington Hills. It's at a price point that's affordable for a middle income level family with a lot of credentials for schools and neighborhood and other types of demographical information that's all included really nicely within Trulia. So what we're going to do is we're going to map all of this information about the neighborhood into the Facebook audience platform and build 4 unique audiences of people, potential buyers of properties for this house. So for starters, what we recommend and what you should do to be able to get to the Facebook ad platform and audience platform is not use the traditional boost post function, but go into the drop down here and select manage ads. Now my screen has an extra layer on top of it because I manage other person's advertising, but what you'll find when you get here is you're going to be greeted with this or prompted with a screen that looks something like this. And I refer to this as the back end of the Facebook advertising platform. And what we're looking at now is how a person would look at the back end of the Facebook advertising platform as opposed to an agency. I also have an agency account with many other accounts, but this is essentially what you would see as a person using the Facebook advertising platform. In here we have up to top along this row of tabs, we have audiences. So the first thing we'll need to do is select audiences. We're going to take a step back and look at the The audiences that I'm recommending for this specific property here. So the 4 audiences I've identified are people that are moving into the neighborhood, general demographics. The next category or the next audience are people that are engaged renters and have a good means of income to be able to afford this lifestyle. So we're going to be targeting people based upon relationship status, current renting, that they've identified themselves as current renters, with the means of income to be able to afford this property. The third audience are potentially families with children that might be looking to move into an area with a good school district. So in this case, there's a lot of information about the school district in Farmington Hills. So what we're going to do is target people based upon their marital status, how many children they have, how old the children are, and the school districts themselves. And lastly, the audience creation based upon married and commute time. This is a bit more of a challenge, but I at least wanted to put it on the table as something that we have the capability to do within the Facebook advertising platform. So the first one is moving into neighborhood general demographics. And what we're going to do is we're going to follow this information right here from Trulia for this property. So within a 1 mile radius of this house, the average age is 48, 83% married, and 64% are college graduates in this area. I'm going to add on an income demographic as well. So in the Power Editor here, the first thing we need to do is create a saved audience. Then the saved audience, I'm going to copy this exactly as I have it into the audience name. So we'll give each audience a unique or separate name so we know which one is which. So the location, as we scroll down here, custom audiences, you can ignore this for your first set of audiences. There's no need to really consider this until you get into more complex Facebook audience building. Excuse me, building. So I'm going to eliminate United States from my targeting, and I'm going to put Farmington Hills, Michigan, and I'm going to do radius targeting. I'm going to do a 25-mile radius around Farmington Hills. Now, see this little area here within the radius, Canada? By default, Facebook eliminates Canada outside of targeting when you select something within the United States. So there's no need to exclude Canada. It won't be included within your audience itself. So using general demographics, once again, we saw that the average age was 48. So we're going to do a 20-year window around the average age. So we're going to do ages 38 to 58. So as we continue to filter the audience, what you'll find up here is this number is adjusted immediately based upon how we filter our demographics. So if I change this as an example to 10 miles, you'll see this audience automatically repopulate. But once again, we want to go 25 miles from Farmington Hills. Detailed targeting, and this is where a lot of people miss the boat, and this is the most powerful part of the Facebook advertising platform. So when I go over here, I see 83% are married and 64% are college graduates. So we're going to target people based upon their relationship status, so married. So like people want to be around like people, so we're going to target only those that are married. So we went from 500,000 people to 220,000 people just by selecting relationship status here. So the next demographic that we're going to consider is, we've already done median age. Now we've done marital status. We're going to go after college graduates. So the majority, 2/3 of the people, almost 2/3 of the people within a 1 mile radius of this property are college graduates. So we're going to narrow our audience further. We're going to select narrow audience. And in here, we're going to go over to browse. We're going to select demographics, education level, college grad, doctorate degree, and master's degree. And by doing that, we went from 220,000 people to 130,000 people. Now, for this property being priced at $234,000 with an estimated mortgage at this value or of this value, and applying some ratios that I'm just going to make a few assumptions right now. I'm going to assume that an earner needs to make at least $5,000 a month to be able to afford this mortgage at the least. But we're also going to associate or attach an upper bounds to this, because people that make more money might want to be, or they might be looking for houses of more value. So I'm going to make some assumptions here. And what we're going to do is we're going to narrow our audience further, and we're going to go into browse, demographics, financial, income, and we're going to select people that make between 75 and 75 and $150,000 a year. So that category and this category. So what we've done is we've now reduced our demographic to 46,000 people around that area. Now, experience has dictated to me, for a small business, we like to get the number down a little bit from 46,000. My personal preference is between 5 and 10,000 people, but getting it to 20,000 people is actually pretty reasonable. So I'm going to reduce the radius here down to 15 miles, and I'm going to see how low I get that number. So I get it down to 21,000 people. I'm going to actually take it down a little bit further, 10 miles. So by reducing the radius around Farmington Hills, we have an audience of 13,000 people that currently live within 10 miles of Farmington Hills, between the ages of 38 and 58, and who are married, and who have a college graduate degree, master's degree, or doctorate's degree, and have an income between $75,000 and $150,000. I'm going to save this audience. So create audience. Okay, so the next audience we're going to build, and I'm going to go through these last three fairly quickly. The second audience is engaged renters and income specific. So this audience I thought of as an audience of people that are currently renting, engaged, and earn enough income where they might potentially be looking at their first purchase for their house in this specific area. Engaged renters, income specific. So I'm going to type in here, engaged, around the location, Farmington Hills, Michigan, 25 miles. I'm going to start with 25 miles. We're at 1.4 million people on Facebook. Ages, we're going to do 24 to 50. And down here, the detailed targeting, we're going to go after demographics, relationship status, engaged. That number is now 30,000 people. So we've narrowed the audience considerably. So now we're going to narrow it further in here, and we're going to look for, I believe it's in demographics, home ownership, renters. So this number should now drop even more considerably. We're down to 7,800 people in this bucket. So for this type of house, we want to narrow it one step further. We want to make sure they have the means to be able to purchase this house. So we're going to go demographics, financial, income, and we're going to do the same thing we did last time, 175 to 150 in that earning range. So we're down to 630 people. Well, now this number is a little bit too low. So what we're going to do is increase the radius a little bit. 630 people does not get you much mileage. I recommend at least an audience of 2,000 people. We're going to expand this out to 30 miles. We get up to 920 people. And I'm going to add an additional category of income earnings into here. And I'm going to add 50 to 75, although that puts us at the boundary, at the very edge of people that can afford this property, but we're at 3,100 people. So there we go. What this bucket represents are people that are engaged, renting, and income specific. They make certain amounts of money. Once we put the income demographic on here, it restricted the category very considerably. So my recommendation would be to be very careful when you're going after this target audience in terms of applying income, the income demographic itself. I'm going to save this audience and we're going to move on to the next one. The next audience is finding people that are married with children that might have as a priority within their lifestyle to move into an area that has very reputable schools. So as I did a little bit of research on this property here, and I looked into the schools and the school district, it's a very prestigious school district here. So this would be a good opportunity to try and find those people that have children at home that are considering moving to an area with more reputable schools. So we're going to create yet another saved audience. Married children with school districts. And I'm going to give my audience that name right there. And once again, we're going to do Farmington Hills, 25-mile radius. Ages, not as important because we're going to be qualifying them by the number of kids they have, but I like to put a lower limit on this. We're going to go 28 to 50. And we're going to target people based upon, once again, married with children. So we're going to go to relationship status here. And we're going to do married. And now we're going to narrow this audience further by selecting demographics. And I believe it's under parents, all parents. Might be in behavior, sorry. Residential profile. So it's in residence. Sorry, it's not here. Demographics. We'll start over. Demographics, home, household composition is what I'm after. New parents, young adults in home, family-based households. So we've identified these three types within the demographics, home, household composition. What we have is 210,000 people. So we need to continue to refine this a little further. We're going to narrow it a little further. And once again, we're going to make sure that our audience has the means to afford this house. We're going to go into browse, demographics, financial, income, 100 to 150,000. Typically will be, 75 to 150,000 will be the type of person that would fit this criteria. I'm gonna, because the number is 62,000, I'm gonna continue to decrease the radius to try and get it around our target number of 20,000. There we go. So 10 miles around Farmington Hills, 28 to 50, married, household composition, new parents, young adults in home or family-based households. I'm actually gonna get rid of young adults in home and see what happens with this number. It didn't impact that number very much. Anyways, that's an example of how to create an audience based upon household composition. So the last one we're going to do, which is very challenging, but I thought it was actually worth my time to at least bring up in conversation. Is there a way? Here was my thought process for this group here. What if there are young professionals in this world that one of the factors in which they're considering, Married and Commute Time is the name of my group, that are considering moving based upon a long commute time right now. So wouldn't it be nice if someone lives and works in Farmington Hills or Pontiac or something like that? And is there a property, is there a way to reach those people that are looking to move into this area and cut down on their commute time? As I looked into the Facebook audience building tools, I wasn't able to find a direct path to identify those people, but I think with a little bit of effort, we can get pretty close. So what I'm going to do is select people between 28 and 50. I'm going to make the assumption on the upper bound here that 50. If someone hasn't moved to a more close location to their work by the time they're 50, they're likely not. That's likely not a priority for them. I could probably actually bump this number down even a little bit more, maybe 45. And then here I'm going to add some, an additional demographic. And I believe it's in the behaviors, job role, not job role, behaviors, residential profile, not right. It's here somewhere. Commuter is what I'm looking for. Commuters is a behavior in travel. 75,000 people around Farmington Hills. What we can do here is, once again, decrease the radius and now find commuters within a 10-mile radius of Farmington Hills between 28 and 45. We can continue to combine this commuting aspect of Facebook audience building by adding children and other types of lifestyle demographics that might help us refine or hone in on those types of people. But the fact is, or what I was trying to present here was, there are ways to be able to reach people based upon commute time and maybe find unique opportunities to find potential buyers based upon commute time. All right, so I'm going to save this audience here. We've created 4 audiences specific to today's conversation. So the next steps for me are, I'm going to create 2 additional videos, one on Thursday, April 28, 2016, and then one on Friday, April 29, 2016. And stop. Here we go. And the purpose of the next 2 videos are going to be tomorrow's, Thursday's, is going to be the creation of the ads themselves. So I'm going to create campaigns, ad sets, and ads so everyone can get an understanding of how you actually create the ad. It's great that we've identified the audiences, but now what do we do with those audiences? Well, we need to create ads. So tomorrow we're going to do that. We're going to create ads and put together the copywriting, the creative part of it, and we're going to put the audiences into use tomorrow by building the ads. And then on Friday, what we're going to do is publish the ads, and you get to see these ads in action, and hopefully learn a lot from this and either start doing your own Facebook advertising with the power and knowledge that we're presenting in these videos, or give us a call, and we'll definitely be able to help you take your game to the next level. So that's all I have for now. Thank you for joining this video. And if you have any questions, I may be reached at my cell number, which is the best number to get a hold of me, 717-420-0972, or otherwise you may find me on Facebook, Michael Lucy, or my business, 3V Business Solutions. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.